All right there. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. This is Kenny N
Kenny squared.
with the Sports on the Positive Tip podcast. It is so great to be with you today and to just talk a little bit of baseball and basketball. I think we're going to do today. So, Kenny, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Spring break is hit here, so everyone's excited.
Yeah, well, I would imagine. And is the weather spring-like?
Yeah, today it's been kind of cold and rainy, but for the most part it's been nice, so that's always good.
Yeah, it could be fake spring though, as they're saying. You know that we get a
Yeah.
little tease and so we're gonna baseball season starts this week. This and around September is always the best time of the year for sports. September, October, but this year it's hard to beat. It's hard to beat this time of year, especially this year. Let's talk about the tournament first. I have an interesting take that I wanted you to get your opinion on. College basketball is so hard to it's amazing the programs that are consistent throughout the years, and some of them aren't here this year, right? Duke, Kentucky, Michigan State. It's so hard to maintain that. North Carolina to maintain that year in and year out. I know Michigan State technically made the tournament, and so did North Carolina, but they've already lost. It's amazing to see some teams that were really good, like in the '80s and '90s, and haven't been good for a long time, that are now back in it. Arkansas for one. I mean, it was a while for them, but I remember they used to go to the Final Four a lot back in the '90s. I remember they won the whole thing. They could have won it back to back, but I think they lost to UCLA. There's another one that it's been a while since they've been good. And obviously UCLA is a dynasty program, but if I tell guys your age, hey, UCLA was dominating back like in the '60s and '70s, they'd be like, really? No, I kind of remember Russell Westbrook, Darren Collison, Kevin Love, those teams. But I think it had been since those guys, since UCLA has really been good. The University of Houston, it's been a long time. So Houston was like in the '80s, went to I think 3 straight Final Fours with Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler. They were just a powerhouse team back then, but it's been a long time, for them. Illinois, I mean, that had to be a good 10 years, right? That they went to the championship game against North Carolina.
Yeah. Who was the big guy that year?
Darren Williams.
Oh, okay.
Darren Williams, yeah. D. Brown, Luther Headley, or Luther Head. Luther Head,
Oh,
yeah.
D
But
Brown
Darren
too. I remember that guy.
Brown was good, yeah. And UConn even it has been several years, right? They had the good run right after Calhoun left, and then they really since Kemba, that was the Kemba Walker team, I think, and they hadn't been good really since. So, and I know they got knocked out too, but Houston's still in it, UConn's still in it. Maryland was another one that used to dominate. What are some of your thoughts on those? Because some of those teams were good when you first started watching the tournament.
Yeah, I kind of like what you said. It is nice to like have some of these teams kind of take that full circle of like rebuilding and recruiting and stuff. I do wonder how much COVID has had an impact on the teams that are in it this year.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes they can use this opportunity to continue to springboard afterwards. So like let's say it's like a Gonzaga or Baylor or one of these like teams that are dominating, but they're usually like kind of the 4 or 5 seed usually. I think like they can kind of take this as like a shot in the arm so that when like a Duke or a Kentucky is strong in a couple of years, they'll still be right up there with. So it is nice though to kind of have some variety because like I think of those this is I know women's college basketball, but still college basketball when UConn won, what was it, like 102 in a row, where it seemed like you didn't have to watch the tournament, you already knew who was going to win. So it's nice to have like a little bit of variety there.
Yeah. Before the UConn women, it was Tennessee was dominating every year. Pat Summitt. Yeah. So what are some thoughts then? Let's jump to that, and then we'll talk a little bit about Sister Jean, because we are a Christian show, so we'll talk a little bit about Sister Jean in a second. But so what are your thoughts here? We've got a couple of teams in the Elite Eight, and a few more coming in hopefully at some point today. Not hopefully, there will be a couple more teams in today, 4 more teams. What were your thoughts on the tournament overall so far?
Well, first of all, it's always fun to see like the random high seed in there. This year, Oregon State, just the
Yeah.
second Elite Eight team that's a 12 seed, um, dating back to 2002.
Wow.
But it's also very interesting how like Baylor and Gonzaga, the two of them haven't missed a beat. Gonzaga plays later today, or I'm looking here like 15 minutes or so. But like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, they've looked incredible.
Yeah. They really have. And someone was saying this about Gonzaga the other day, that they were kind of the definition in the 90s and thousands of the mid-major, right? You started to really hear that expression a lot. And then they just kept winning. They're not considered a mid-major anymore. They're considered a national powerhouse because they've just been consistent over the years. And they look really, really good. And, so I like Baylor, though, because I like Jared Butler. I like the guy Macau, because he's got one of the best nicknames of they call, because he's so good defensively. His nickname is Off Night. So because they say if he's playing, you're gonna have an off night. This guy Devion Mitchell, not is it? Yeah, I think it's Devion. It's Donovan that's in the NBA. I don't think they're related, but Devion, this guy just attacks. He's so fast, and he's got a great jump shot, and he just attacks. I'm telling you, they have 3 guys that we're going to see in the NBA next year, at least. I think Gonzaga has 2 as well, but Baylor, I think, has 3 guys you're going to see in the NBA. Is it inevitable that they're on a collision course for the championship?
Part of me says yes, but I feel like saying that kind of jinx it because like there's always that random team, like whether it's Arkansas, whether it's Houston, although Houston, it hasn't really looked that great, almost losing last night too.
Yeah.
Like I would say yes, because usually like once you get down to the Final Four and it's like a really good team against a Cinderella team, it's usually the good team that wins. But you never know. There was that year that Butler won. Weren't they like an 8 seed or something like that?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I would say yes, but we'll see.
Yeah, Houston, what's interesting to me is Kelvin Sampson, their coach. He was doing so well with Oklahoma, and they violated a lot of NCAA protocol, and it was more his fault, and so they kicked him out of there. And then he was an assistant in the NBA for a while, and I think he was like an interim coach when somebody got let go, maybe in Milwaukee or somewhere like that. And then he just kind of bounced around. And it's interesting. I was reading this, that Houston couldn't find like another coach because the program had went down so much. And they said, well, we got nothing to lose by giving him a shot. He's not going to cost much money because he's desperate for a job. The guy's done an outstanding job. I mean, he publicly has said a lot of times that he really, blew it at Oklahoma. That he put it all on his shoulder. Like a lot of coaches, Rick Pitino being one, they never admit. They're like, oh, they were out to get me or whatever. But Sampson was one who stepped up and said, yeah, it was all me. We messed up. And it was a pretty bad scandal that they had. I think they were paying players under the under the table and everything like that. So it'll be interesting to see them get as far. So has this been a really good tournament so far, do you think, or do you miss it being in other parts of the country, or has it not mattered for us watching it from TV?
Honestly, I haven't really noticed the regional part, because a lot of times like they design all the courts the same anyway. I think it does kind of seem like I would love a little bit more like with the you could tell that there's not as many fans there, but that's going to be the case with baseball once it gets started and everything. But
Yeah.
honestly, this has been a good tournament. Like you've had like number 1 seeds go down. You have teams like Oregon State, Oral Roberts getting in to the Sweet 16. It's been a good one so far. I feel like, and I could be wrong, I feel like we haven't had a really good buzzer beater yet.
Yeah.
But
No, I think you're right. Yeah, we probably every year there's going to be one, at least one. Um,
yeah,
it's so. Let me ask you this: are the Elite Eight games on Monday and Tuesday?
yes.
Okay, okay. It's odd they did the days differently this year, which is kind of throwing me off because I was looking for the games on Thursday. I figured okay because they usually do Thursday, Friday. At this point, usually by the end of the day today, we usually know who's in the Final Four, but not the case this year. So is the Final Four still Saturday, next Saturday?
Yep, Final Four is next Saturday, and then the championship game next Monday.
Championship game is on Monday. Okay, so they just have a little bit of less time in between. Okay, I guess that works since there's no travel, so it does. They don't have to travel anywhere.
Yeah, COVID too probably
Oh
also
yeah,
helps there.
absolutely, absolutely. So Loyola, Chicago. Um, Sister Jean, she's 101 years old now, and I want to get your take on this because we've always had prayer in sports as far back as you can go. Every NFL team. I don't think baseball or basketball does. Some of them do, but I know every football team has a chaplain, and they always do pregame, and that's gone on for years and years and years. In fact, Pastor Randy, I know really good friends with. I think he's still good friends, but I think the guy's retired now. That used to be the chaplain for the New England Patriots, and he was chaplain for them for years. I remember he came in, he did a marriage thing while he was still chaplain. So that's something that's gone on for years. So there's always been the pregame prayer, and so Sister Jean, Loyola, I think a Catholic university, and so her prayer was real specific because she's a student of the game and she's very lucid at 101 years old. She said, Illinois, every time they shot over 30% from threes, from the 3-point line, they always won every game this year. So she specifically prayed for them to shoot less than 30%. Said, God, please let Illinois shoot less than 30% from threes. And they did. They shot like only 21%. They played a not a very good game at all, and they wound up losing to Loyola. And it wasn't that close, if I remember. I think they lost by 12 or 13 points. So, what were your thoughts when you either heard it or you just now heard me say it? Is that how did she get that specific?
I think it's a very big step of faith to do so. But yeah, that's something like it is very interesting because, like you said, you hear prayer all the time in sports. I think if Tim Tebow would take a knee and pray before every game. You have some like baseball players, like they'll do like the crucifix every time they hit a home run or strike out a guy.
Yeah.
But I usually don't hear something that specific. And I think it is interesting because like sometimes I've heard it said this way that like God doesn't root for particular teams except for maybe the Yankees, but I do think that God uses sports as a way to glorify its name. And I think like people hearing like, wow, Sister Jean was that like faith driven to pray a specific prayer. Like I hope people like heard that was like, wow, like God is real. But I don't know. Because obviously like I think it would be a much bigger and awesome story if they went as far as to win the tournament. But obviously that wasn't God's plan. Or maybe she prayed the wrong stat on there, that rebounds or something instead of field goal percentage.
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting that it is that age old question, right? Is God really in sports, right? And I think God's in everything. I think I agree with you. I think he uses sports because you think about if you play. I never really made any teams, right, in high school and so but I know just playing with friends and stuff like that. There's so many little lessons that you can learn from sports, teamwork and respect, and I imagine that a lot of lessons, especially if you have a great coach, great teachers, great coaches, that you can learn. So I think God uses that. But I mean, specifically, is God worried about whether Illinois shot less than 30% for threes. I don't know. I don't know. But it was God bless her. I mean, she obviously loves sports and she loves
Yeah,
that team. 101 years old. And this team has surprised several times now over the last few years because it's got to be the third or fourth time I've heard about her because she was like only 95 when I first started hearing about her. So, all right. Well, this has been fun to watch the tournament. I can't wait for the rest of it. I'm glad that there hasn't been an outbreak. We only had the one game that was canceled. So hopefully we can get through the championship and everything and listen to one shining moment again.
yeah.
Which would be great. I'm never usually up for that, but this year I might try to stay up for it. Or at least I haven't been for the last probably 8, 9 years.
Yeah.
All
Some
right.
things just come in, by the way.
Yeah.
This is one of those breaking news moments. This is going to hurt both of us. Andre Drummond is intending to sign with the Lakers.
Yeah. I kind of the way the wind was blowing the last few days. The Knicks could really use him without Mitchell Robinson now. I mean, anybody that averages 17 points, 13 rebounds, you got to find a spot for him. But I mean, some of these teams, I know we didn't plan on talking about the NBA, but like the Nets signing LaMarcus Aldridge, really, Blake Griffin. I
Yeah.
mean, and now the Lakers signing Andre Drummond. I mean, Anthony Davis is coming back. So it's just really, really odd that the rich get richer. I thought he would maybe come here to the Knicks for a couple of reasons. It's his hometown, and number two, the Knicks have the money to pay him. But maybe they didn't pursue him hard enough. Who knows? I think the Knicks might be happy with what they have and going to build on it from there.
Yeah. This reminds me, I think I want to say 2018 when like kind of the same thing, like these like good players on bad teams get bought out and they went one of two places, the Cavs or the Warriors.
Yeah.
It's kind of seeming like we're looking at collision course for Nets Lakers.
Yeah, this is true. It's back to that. That's right. That's right. All right. Let's talk some baseball. Opening day is Thursday, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So let's hear it from you. Let's hear a summary, and let's hear some predictions. Let's hear a summary of the Yankees. What are you thinking? What's your scouting report here? And how about the rest of the American League? And then, if you want, you can do American. I'll do national, or we can do both. Let's hear first from you about the Yankees. Let's give an overall scouting.
Yeah, I love doing American and national. That sounds great. So as far as the Yankees go, first of all, I still say this very hesitantly. They've come for the most part out of spring training healthy. They just lost Luke Voigt for probably at least a couple months with a torn meniscus.
Yeah.
And it's good to say this because Luke Voigt led the league in home runs last year. The Yankees can make it work without him. Obviously, they'll need him back. They'll need everyone healthy. Zach Britton's the only other big injury. But I also look at that rotation, and I'm hesitantly excited. Aaron Boone has said that it's going to be Garrett Cole first, Corey Kluber, Domingo Germán, who we'll get back to in a little bit, Jordan Montgomery, and then Jameson Taillon, who's actually going to start the 7th game of the year. They're going to keep Garrett Cole going every 5 days and then kind of pepper everyone else in there. So right now, even though 3 out of the 5 pitchers threw a total of 1 inning last year, I'm really excited for what this pitching staff looks like. It seems like it's been the best rotation, I would maybe say, since like 2009, 2010. The big thing, though, this has been the question since I feel like forever. This Yankee team's got to stay healthy. Like, I need Giancarlo Stanton, I need Aaron Judge to give me 145, 150 games. I need this rotation. Corey Kluber's got to stay on the bump every 5 days. Taillon's got to stay healthy. If these guys can stay healthy, this team could be really special. I also really like the Yankees bench. the fact that they picked up Jay Bruce is a huge addition.
Yeah.
And especially
Yeah.
now that Luke Voigt's gone,
Yeah.
he'll just go in there, left-handed bat in Yankee Stadium is always a good thing. Brett Gardner also kind of giving people days off in there. Mike Tauchman can be a good defensive replacement, especially like in late in the game, or if you need like a pinch runner somewhere in there. So I'm really excited about this team. My number one question, can they stay healthy? Number two, how this bullpen's going to look is going to be interesting. I'm not that worried about it, but like a guy like Chad Green, who's kind of been like on the background, kind of going wherever he feels like, he's going to have to take a bigger role. O'Day also as well will have to take a bigger role. Justin Wilson also might be starting the year on the injured list. He's got a bit of a sore shoulder.
Yeah.
So the rest of those guys, though, guys like Luis Sessa, Jonathan Loaizaga, Nick Nelson, they have to kind of take that next step forward, which like Loaizaga has like 97 plus stuff, but then he never seems to kind of get it together.
Yeah.
But if this rotation can stay healthy, that lineup can beat pretty much anybody. I look at the rest of the AL East. You have the Rays, who always seem to find guys out of the middle of nowhere, but they also lost Blake Snell, who is their Cy Young, and also Charlie Morton, who I believe, if I have this right, has won the most game sevens of any active pitcher.
I don't know how they let him go either. I mean, and he's with the Braves. Gosh.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
I think as far as the rest of the Yankees competition, like the Red Sox are rebuilding to the point where Dodgers fans put a billboard in front of Fenway Park saying thank you for Mookie Betts. And then also the Orioles, I think, are they're obviously rebuilding, but they'll have the best story of the year probably with Trey Mancini. So really, like, it looks like it's the Yankees division to win. The Central, the White Sox look pretty good, although they just had a major injury with their
terrible injury. I saw that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And you could kind of see his shoulder all messed up when he came down. You hate to see that in spring training like that, but he's playing hard. He's trying to rob a home run.
Yeah.
You know? Wow.
Yeah, and that's always my issue with the Yankees is like I feel like someone like Clint Frazier, like ran into the wall and suffered a concussion. He was pretty much gone for the entire year because of something like that. But
Yeah.
also, I mean, I guess that's baseball for you.
Playing hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Rest of the Central kind of looks kind of meh to me. Like the Twins are going to be good. I don't know what the Indians are doing. Whether like I don't know if they're like going to try to rebuild, although they got rid of pretty much everybody. And then the Tigers and Royals are also kind of in that spot. I think the most interesting division for me, aside in the American League, is the West. Shohei Ohtani looks really healthy and could actually do pretty well, both hitting and pitching. That should be interesting. Obviously, Mike Trout's there, Anthony Rendon. I'm interested to see how their pitching looks. But really, to me, the team to beat there has got to be the A's. And who knows what the Astros will do in a full season. I think they'll go back to kind of, they were a 500 team last year, so they could easily do that again. I'm at least hoping for that. But we'll see. I hate to say Yankees, but really, if I look at the American League, I don't think there's a team talent-wise that could stack up against them. Should they stay healthy and should all of their pieces kind of stay intact?
Yeah. Okay. So definitely 95 to 103 wins or so for the Yankees.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have any disagreement with anything you said. The only the big deal for the Yankees is staying healthy. I mean, if their big guys are healthy, because both of them will hit, Judge will hit, Stanton will hit, but they just got to be on the field. They're going to need them. Interesting. Okay. I'll jump National League real quick. I'm cautiously optimistic on the Mets. There's not many holes here. I love their starting lineup. Again, you love it, but they've got to do it on the field. And so their bench, I love that they have veterans, Villar, Almoso. They've got Jonathan Villar in the infield, Luis Guillorme, Tomas Nido, backup catcher. I mean, they've got not only hitting in their regular lineup, they've got a bench that potentially can be very, very good. And so there's always injuries. So you love to see that. That you've got guys that are not too old, that are veterans, that can jump in and start if needed, and then not lose a beat. I think Pete Alonso will really bounce back and have a huge year this year. I think Dominic Smith is going to break out. He looked great in spring. And listen, Lindor is definitely one of the best players in the game. So I think offensively we're fine. I think the pitching will be very, very good until Syndergaard and Carrasco come back. I think they'll hold on, till then, maybe even better than hold on. I like their bullpen. Edwin Diaz looks great. I like Trevor May. He's a great pickup. The only question mark in the bullpen is, I can't believe I'm saying this, is Dylan Betances, who I really wanted. But he doesn't seem like he's recovered yet, from the injuries that he had. His velocity is still a little bit shaky. I overall really, really, really like the Mets, and I think there's no reason why they shouldn't, go toe-to-toe with the Braves all year long. I think the Nationals will be back. I think they're going to be tough all year long. They're well managed. They still have some really good championship caliber players. I think the Phillies, I love Joe Girardi. I think he's one of the best managers in baseball. And I think he's going to settle in there and do extremely well with the Phillies this year. So I think the East is probably going to be a toughest division with the most teams. I'll jump to the West real quick, because to me, it's going to be the Padres and Dodgers. That's going to be must-see TV. I think I said that a few weeks ago. You got to get a couple of those games on TV, and put it like Sunday night so that we can watch it, not 10:30 at night, where you'll probably be up, but not me. So I think just those two teams are loaded. They're just really good. They're well managed. I think that they have depth in their starting pitching and their bullpens, and forget it. Both of them are going to hit like crazy. So I think the West is going to be those two teams, although I think the Giants will come back a little bit, back to the pack, maybe around 500 or so. I think, jumping quick to the Central, I think that's the Cardinals division to lose. I think the Reds will be really good, but I think the Cardinals are going to be head and tails above the rest. I think the Cubs are going to take a few steps back. The Pirates, I think, take a few steps back. I think the Brewers will be good. They made a couple of good pickups. I don't think they'll be able to hang with the Cardinals all year. So I think the class of the National League is going to be, Mets, Braves, Cardinals, Padres, Dodgers. And then you can take your pick from, Phillies, Nats, Brewers. Those will be kind of the other teams that'll be in there. Should be an exciting year. Again, I was telling Chris at church this today. I said, Chris, you're too young, and Kenny's too young to remember the 92, 93 Mets, where, we had Bobby Bonilla, Eddie Murray, Vince Coleman, Brett Saberhagen. We had all these players and we did nothing. Todd Huntley in his prime, but I'm optimistic. I think it's going to be a really good year. So I can't wait to finally since finally it's only a year, but 162 game season, back. So it's awesome. Now, so you sent me, so we'll talk more baseball next week, because we'll have opening day under the belt and everything. But you sent me a great article that I wanted to jump into real quick here, and that was 6 active players that may or may not be in the Hall of Fame. And so I'm going to bounce them off you. I want to hear what you say. Robinson Cano is the first one they named.
Hate to say it, but no. With the steroid stuff, like, he was probably borderline at first, especially like he would probably, if he was healthy and continued on that trajectory, probably get 3,000 hits, but I don't think he's stiff in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I mean, he has he would have gotten 3,000 hits if he only probably need to play about 3 more years to get 3,000 hits. But now he's missing when you miss a season at this late age, it's really, really hard. Let me ask you this: what if they change over the next couple of years and they vote in Bonds, Clemens, and they slowly start to let? I think even if they do that, they won't let Manny or A-Rod in because they got caught red-handed a couple of times. But let's just say some of the guys that were suspected, like Big Poppy, or but I think Bonds and Clemens, that's the gold standard, right? You think if they start to kind of, and then they put it in perspective, do you think then they would let Cano in, or do you think his chances are done?
No, I think his chances are done. I think there are some people too, like when he's not hustling, people don't see that as very Hall of Fame caliber.
The factor, yeah.
But like to me, I don't mind it that much because like the guy never hustled, but he also never missed a game. But now he's missing games and not hustling. So
you can't do both, yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot of times
So,
Ricky Henderson
I'd say
didn't. Yeah. I was gonna say there's a
Yeah.
lot of times Ricky Henderson didn't hustle, but it's a little different. Okay, so Cano, no. How about Cole Hamels? 163 wins right now, and he has a 3.43 ERA. And you know what I'm gonna say? Cole Hamels has been money in the postseason. So what are your thoughts on Cole Hamels?
I say Cole Hamels, yes, because he did it for such a long time. I guess my only thing is like Cole Hamels has never been like the best of the best pitchers, kind of in the same way that like there's been some guys like they're pretty good and then they turn it on. Like Cole Hamels is, I think, though, a very good product of consistency. The 08 Phillies run might clinch it for me though. I would say definitely not first ballot, but I think I would put him in. He pitched in a tough division. He also he went 5-0 in the playoffs and absolutely dominant. So I would probably say yes.
Okay, I agree. I there's nothing I disagree with on that. I think the postseason puts it over there. And if he gets 200 wins, right? He's got 163, so he needs what, 27 more wins. If he gets to 200 wins, I think that'll play. I mean, 3.43 in this ERA is really good, especially all the years he's pitched. John Lester, very, very interesting one. He's got overall 193 wins now and a 3.60 ERA, and he's a 3-time World Series champ. So what are you thinking about John Lester?
John Lester's tough. Part of me says no, but also like I think of John Lester as one of the more iconic moments in a bad way, winning wasn't he the winning pitcher in the 2004 game?
Yeah.
So like he's another guy. He really he upped it in the postseason. 9-7, 2.51 ERA. So like, I think he might also be one of those guys where he'd have to get the 200 wins. He's close to 2,500 strikeouts, especially like 300 wins is going to be hard in this era since so many guys don't pitch that deep in the games.
Yeah, it'll be hard to do it.
I don't know. I would say
he gets 200. I mean, he only needs 7 more wins.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess so. Once again, not in the first.
Begrudgingly, look at that. Huh? You just the old Red Sox thing. So one quick thing with him that stands out for me is that half a season when Boston knew they weren't going to sign him and they traded him to Oakland, and he carried the A's that second half. And do you remember that division playoff game? That he pitched into the 9th inning against the Royals. I mean, the guy is just money. So I think he can get in. Plus, he overcame Hodgkin's disease, I believe, at the beginning of his career. He's a very, very interesting story, John Lester. So we'll see. We'll see. It's weird that he can't throw to first base. That's just been so odd, for me that he has that. All right, Yadier Molina, 9-time All-Star. I mean, he's got great stats all around. Certainly one of the best defensive catchers ever. What are you thinking?
Yes, I would say Yadi's in. I forgot what the number is. He has less, or people have stolen less bases off him than like several teams since he's been in the league. So like,
he's amazing. Yeah.
I'd say definitely.
It seemed like he got better as he got older too. He seems more leaner. I mean, he looked like he could play another 5 years. He probably won't, but he looks like he can play a lot more long time. Yeah, I think he's a no-brainer. I absolutely, especially in the catcher one. The other one was interesting though. The other catcher, Buster Posey, and I was surprised to see his name on there, to be honest. But what do you think?
I would say also yes for him. He was
Wow.
definitely like the best catcher for at least a few years there. Um, like, and especially he was a centerpiece to several championship teams too. So I would say yeah.
I didn't think about the championship thing because I had no, but you changed my mind a little bit there. I'm not quite ready to put him in because I hate that guys like Don Mattingly aren't in. Some of these guys that had like 5 6 year runs, which I think his run was, but I forget the championships. As I was writing it down, that's definitely a good one. You and I have had this thing the last few years that we've had fading stars, and he can't be that old yet, and it's not his fault. He had some really hard injuries, and I know he had that one where it was a guy from the Marlins that played for the Yankees for a little while too, that ran over him that really messed up his leg, and
Yeah.
so I'm gonna stay kind of neutral on him yet. Let's see how he finishes out his career. But I forgot the championships. He was a big part of it, and he's a leader on that team. All right, last one is Joey Votto. He's close to 2,000 hits right now. Not sure he'll get to 3,000. Just depends on how long he plays. Got an MVP, been an All Star several times. What are we thinking on Joey Votto?
I want to say yes. Looking here, career 419 on base percentage, which is top 20 all time. But also he seems like he was a really good player for also a really bad team. Like how many times were the Reds in the playoffs? Like not many. There was
Not
the
many.
year that he won the MVP, but like and also he might be looked upon differently because of analytics where like a lot of the more like he gets on base a lot might help him. I guess I would say yes, but it also depends on how long he plays.
Okay, I'm with you there. If he puts together a couple more really big years and Cincinnati gets into the postseason, I know they got there last year, but if they make some noise, like get to a championship, the championship series, or even the World Series, I'm going to change my pick because he is clearly the leader of that team. It seems like everything like runs through him on the Reds, and it seems like it's been like that for a while. And he reminds me a little bit of Kirk Gibson almost. That consistently he's been a better hitter than Kirk Gibson was through his career. But in terms of the leadership stuff, which I don't think in baseball or really any sport, but especially baseball with a long season, you can't take for granted. I think you just need those guys like, one of the reasons why I think Brett Gardner is back with the Yankees or David Wright lasted so long with the Mets, even though, he was hurt and past his prime. I think that leadership aspect managers really look to. I think he's like a second manager on that team. And so if they keep losing, though, that doesn't mean anything, so much. But I think if they take a step and get to a World Series in these next, 5 6 years, I think he'll play another good 5 6 years. Um, and if they do so, I can't see them ever trading him though because he means so much, to that organization and to that city. But so I think him is still to be determined. So out of those, we said Robby Cano, no. Cole Hamels, yes. John Lester, begrudgingly, yes. Yadi Molina, yes. And Buster Posey, you said yes. So it's just
Yeah.
Joey Votto and Robby Cano that you're leaving out right now.
Yeah. And I guess part of it would see like how long are these guys gonna actually play?
Yeah.
Because like Cole Hamels plays another 5 years, then I think it would be an easy yes. But
Yeah.
it all depends.
Okay. All right. Interesting. To be determined. I don't think Cole Hamels is going to be that much longer. I think he's got probably another year or two in him, and John Lester too. But I think the other guys will. It'll be interesting. And Cano comes back. I mean, he still's got a couple of years on his contract. I don't know what the Mets will do. That's a little bit of awkward situation for sure. And
Yeah.
he's like playing in the Winter League somewhere, or was playing in one of the leagues. So he definitely wants to come back and play. He hasn't said much since since he got caught again, unfortunately. So, All right, this has been fun. We're gonna go watch some basketball because we got Gonzaga's on now, right? Baseball
Yeah.
this week. Baseball this week. This should be a lot of fun. Is there? There's probably a Sunday night game coming up. I guess be a big Sunday night game next week. I would imagine. Not today though, right?
I think so. No,
Okay.
I don't think. Like, I think the Yankees are on like ESPN Plus or whatever.
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay.
I'm pulling up the scores here. See who we
I
got,
like.
because I would assume as well that they would
I liked how they had
have
it
at
for
least somebody.
several years. They had the Sunday night game was the first game of the year, and then everybody else started on Monday. I liked that for a few years, and for years and years it was Cincinnati that was the first team. But I liked how they had that for a few years, that they had the Sunday night game, and then everybody else started. But what are you gonna do? All right, get some music going for the
Yeah.
podcast. Who is it now?
Angels White Sox.
Angels White Sox. There we go. That's a good matchup. Come on, that's good. You just said they're going to be good. Both those teams. It's a good matchup. All right.
Yeah.
All right. More baseball next week. We'll talk obviously more basketball next week. Kenny, take us home.
All right. Well, this is Kenny Squared End
Kenny.
with Sports on the Positive Tip. Happy opening day.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you next week.